Hey everyone, welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I'm Dr. Whitney, Dr. Mom ND, and that's not gonna work, is it? I like wearing these blue blocker glasses, but they reflect my light really bad. So today, yay, finally we have a new topic. We're not gonna talk about coronavirus. Last week or 2 weeks ago already, the Environmental Working Group, if you are not familiar with EWG, came out with their 2020 list of their safer sunscreens, which is super fun. So just like the food list, they've got the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. Hi Liz, thanks for joining. I wanted to talk about the sunscreen studies that they had today. So just like their food ones, they have the little mini sheet that you can print out. So this is like a little pocket guide with the, shortcuts, like the cliff note, right, of what to avoid and what to look for. So this is the short version of it. You can keep that in your pocket when you're shopping for your sunscreens, but I am going to go over the long version of it first. So there's a bunch of different, I don't even know where to begin. I love the Environmental Working Group. If you haven't already checked out their website or their apps, please do so. It is a wealth of information, and they're completely funded by donations, nonprofit organizations. So there's also a way I love to support them rather than doing just a one-time donation or a yearly, is if you do a lot of shopping on Amazon. I just learned about this not that long ago. It's smile.amazon.com, or within Amazon. Every time you make a purchase, if an organization participates, which the Environmental Working Group does, a percentage of every one of your purchases goes towards them. So whenever I use Amazon, I know it's really easy to just go on my phone on the app, so I have to remind myself, go on my desktop, because that's for sure, I know it works, and I do the smile.amazon, and it's got a little ticker box right up in the corner that shows you as an ongoing basis, like how much of your purchases has been donated to Environmental Working Groups. I think this morning when I looked on it, was like $2.95 or something in the last couple purchases, so that's cool. So that's one way you can continue to support Environmental Working Group, and getting great information like this in your hands that they can continue to fund their studies year after year. So the big article, Environmental Working Group's 2020 Guide to Sunscreens, there's a couple things I wanted to touch on in it. One is that more than 1,300 products were tested this year. So, I mean, anything from beach to sports sunscreens, they did all kinds of, this was, I think, the biggest year ever, their 14th annual Safer Sunscreen product study. So 1,300 products were studied. On the topic of safe and effective ingredients, from the beginning, EWG has recommended sunscreen products made with zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, which meet all of the safety standards. And the FDA has now proposed that at least 12 other active ingredients commonly found in sunscreens need additional data from safety and efficacy tests. So the FDA is finally getting on board as well with this. In fact, they've recognized 2 active ingredients, PABA, P-A-B-A, and trolamidine, suggested by scientific literature as is unsafe, but these ingredients are actually rarely used anymore. So, big deal. They recommend 2 things that aren't safe that aren't even used anymore. But the biggest concern is oxybenzone. This is one of the most commonly used sunscreen active ingredients in the non-mineral sunscreen in this year's guide. So, mounting evidence that it will disrupt the skin and the hormone system, the FDA's position confirms that although oxybenzone was tested, additional data is needed because it raised a few different concerns. Oxybenzone is allergenic. It is absorbed through the skin in large amounts. It has been detected in human breast milk, amniotic fluid, urine, and blood, which means it is very pervasive. Okay. It is a potential endocrine disruptor, which means it will mess with any and all hormones in your body. And in fact, children may be more vulnerable to harm from oxybenzone than adults due to the higher absorption and bioaccumulation. And what that means is, like, you think about a kid versus an adult, and the amount of sunscreen you put on them might not be quite as much. There's not as much surface area, but the ingredients in there are going to represent a much larger percentage for that little body to deal with than an adult. The FDA is finally on board also with banning the highest SPF claims. I believe they did this last year, because I remember talking about this last year, and I swear, because you started seeing SPFs of like 80, 100. I swear I saw some that were like over 100, which was ridiculous. And so I want to say they limited it last year already to 50, maybe, but now it's saying that they're kind of backpedaling on that a little bit, and now they're trying to limit products with SPF claims of greater than 60. The idea here is that the higher the claim of SPF gives the user a false sense of security, again, leading to overexposure to UVA rays that increase the risk of long-term skin issues. Yeah. So yeah, the FDA did recommend a cap of 50 last year, but the latest proposals now are a little step backwards. And to justify the change, the FDA cited that only studies of ingredients that are not allowed for use in the U.S. was the basis. Therefore, it remains, some of this got cut off when I printed it, feasible or beneficial in the U.S. market. So FDA proposes to raise standards for UVA protection. We obviously know that's the most important. The FDA also finally proposed that all spray sunscreen products undergo additional safety testing. And the EWG, again, has recommended for a while that consumers avoid all spray and powder-based sunscreens due to the fact that the particles are then airborne and you can breathe them in, and there's some concern over that, where they could be doing damage in the lungs because they have no reason to be there, and therefore the body doesn't really have any way to detox them, in a sense. The FDA has also proposed numerous other changes, including banning sunscreen and bug repellent combinations, improving the product labeling, and ensuring that all products with an SPF over 15 actually provide UVA protection. So that's kind of how the FDA is getting up to par with what the Environmental Working Group has been studying. There are all, like I said, this topic on the Environmental Working Group's website has its own whole page. So there's an executive summary, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think there's more. I gotta turn the page. Yeah, 9, 10, 11. Well, 10 topics, 11 is the glossary, 12 is the references. So there are additional subdivisions of articles about each topic as well. So the biggest things were that high SPF sunscreens not only overly promise protection, but according to the FDA administration, they may also overexpose consumers to UVA rays and raise their risk of cancer. Let's see. Many studies found that people are misled by the claims on high SPF sunscreen bottles. People trust these high SPFs too much. So there are 5 key strikes against SPF values greater than 50. They include poor balance, meaning the balance between blocking the UVB and the UVA rays. Consumers misuse high SPF products. Again, tends to lull users into staying into the sun longer with a false sense of security and overexposing them to both UVA and UVB rays well past the point when users of low SPF products would either head indoors or reapply. Sunburn protection is actually only marginally better. Sunbathers often assume they get twice as much protection from SPF 100 versus SPF 50. Well, yeah, math, right? Nope, doesn't work that way with sunscreen. So the extra protection is actually negligible. Properly applied, SPF 50 blocks 98% of UVB rays, while SPF 100 blocks 98%, so only 1% better. When correctly used, sunscreen with SPF between 30 and 50 offers adequate sunburn protection even for people most sensitive to sunburn. So high SPF products may not really be high SPF. When Procter & Gamble tested a competitor's SPF 100 product at 5 different labs, the results varied from SPF 37 to SPF 75. The company determined that a very small difference in test conditions could dramatically affect the calculated SPF. However, they warned that intense UV light used in labs could differ from real-world conditions, so it is all of dubious value. Well, whatever. The company then concluded that their values should be capped at 50 because the current system is at best misleading to the consumers. So that's good. The last part, number 5, high SPF products may pose a greater health risk. So, because they require higher concentrations of sun filtering chemicals than low SPF sunscreens, some of the ingredients may pose additional health risks when they penetrate the skin. They've been linked to tissue damage and potential hormone disruption. Yep. A lot of them trigger allergic skin reactions. The FDA has long contended that SPF higher than 50 is inherently misleading, as of 2007 even, while Australians cap their SPF at 30, European and Japanese at 50, and Canada allows a maximum of 50 plus. So, overall, there is, according to our agency, a lack of data showing that sunscreens with SPF values above 60 provide any additional meaningful clinical benefit. So, the EWG believes that the FDA should consider this change and instead go back to capping the value at 50, which I agree with. Sure, if you can't really prove it works, why do it? So, how do we protect our kids and ourselves from the sun, and what are the best sunscreens, right? That's the big thing. Everybody wants to know. So, sunscreen, believe it or not, should actually be one of the last things you do to protect yourself from the sun, just like supplements should actually be the last thing that we do to fix your health, right? Because it's more about lifestyle and other stuff first. We don't want to just treat symptoms. So, obviously, always check your skin regularly for new moles that are tender or growing. And in fact, in our, it wasn't called a skin class, but dermatology, E&M dermatology, evaluation and management. So our clinical course on dermatology, you learn the ABCs of looking at skin. So if it's asymmetric, if it is, let's see, what was B? Ooh, this is good. I think black, if it was black in color. I know C was circumference. So it or something like that. It's got to be smooth, like circular and smooth. If it's not, if it's got abnormal edges, or it's growing on one side more than the other, or the color or the width is uneven, or it's growing like faster or more different, it's all stuff that warrants getting it checked out. Don't get burned, obviously. But the big thing first and foremost is always going to be cover up. So wear clothes, loose clothes, clothes that breathe, shirts, hats, shorts, pants. They don't have to be the UV, clothing to provide protection. You should also plan around the sun if you can. So either go outdoors early in the morning or later in the afternoon. Find shade or make it. So you can use a sun umbrella if you're at the beach, or they have lots of those cool like beach tents now that are kind of like tents, but either maybe they don't have a bottom, or they do, but it's mostly like screen on the sides, just to create your own shade. So picnic under a tree, use an umbrella, keep infants in the shade. And sunglasses are another big one, separate from clothing. Sunglasses aren't just a fashion accessory. Good shades actually protect you from the sun damage, which could cause cataracts. So, clothes, plan around the sun, shade, don't get burned, wear sunglasses. Oh, you can also check the UV index. Like if you've got a day that you want to plan a beach day or an outdoor day or whatever, you can actually look up the UV index for that day and see how you should plan accordingly for it. Now you put on sunscreen, okay? Again, don't fall for high SPF labels. And then here are some tips about the sunscreen specifically. So avoid sunscreen with vitamin A. Eating vitamin A foods is very good for you, but putting vitamin A on your skin may not be. So a lot of data shows that tumors and lesions often came from creams laced with vitamin A. This is also called retinol palmitate or retinol. So avoid any sunscreens that have this in the ingredient label. Retinol palmitate, retinol, or vitamin A. Oxybenzone, which we've already talked about, is actually a synthetic estrogen. It will penetrate the skin. Your skin is actually your largest organ. So anything you slather on your skin is going all the way inside the body, and your body's got to deal with it. Don't combine sunscreen with bug repellent. If you need bug repellent, buy it and use it separately. Pick a good sunscreen, which we will get to. Don't spray. The particles that go into the tiny particles that go into the air can be breathed in, which is not good. Reapply your cream often, which we know. And actually, this was news to me, though maybe not. In the realm of sunscreen, yes, but maybe in general skin health, not so much. I feel like I remember that from derm class as well. Men actually are twice as likely as women to get melanoma. So in 2015, they did a study. It showed 48% of men reported actual, routine findings of melanoma going to the doctor rather than women. And especially vitamin B, D as in dog, vitamin D. People who don't get enough vitamin D will have more likelihood of getting sunburned as well. So vitamin D, if you don't know, it's made in your skin from the sun. So yes, it's good, but if you are not having sufficient levels in your body, it's going to not provide you as much protection either. So you can also always get your level tested and do supplements for that. I do cod liver oil year round. It has naturally occurring vitamin A and D in it. I guess if I'm doing capsules, I would probably do 2 in the summer, and I would probably kick that up to 3 or 4 in the winter, doing cold and flu season. If you're doing the syringe of oil, it just depends on which one you're doing. And then you would adjust that accordingly as well. So with kids, it's the same thing. Wear protective clothing, make shade, avoid midday sun, etc., etc. Bigger kids, you can get less, concerned about that. And then they have 2 lists that I printed off. So this is Environmental Working Group's best scoring sunscreen for kids, big list. The one I use the most is Badger Baby. And I know people get all concerned about the thick, white, goopy cream, but that's good because it's staying on top of your skin, not absorbing into it. But Badger, actually last year I found they have one that's called like clear mineral or something like that. And it's like a new formulation of Badger that isn't as thick and goopy. So that's an option too. Every best rated beach and sport sunscreen in this year's group was rated at an overall score 1 or lower. So if you know anything about EWG, they rate things 1 through 10. Like I think it's 1 through 3 or 0 through 3 are green, and then there's yellow and then red. So if you're like 8, 9, 10, that's a red. EWG recommends always using products that are in the green range. So this year, 26 baby and kid sunscreens scored a 1 in their database. So this list encompasses all of those. Just a few blistering sunburns in childhood can double a person's lifetime chance of skin cancer. The best sunscreen is still a hat and a shirt. So again, infants, toddlers, make sure they're not allergic to it. Test that first. So just depending on what you're looking for, there's a list of sunscreens specifically for kids. There's another list for beach and sport sunscreens. 180 met the EWG criteria. There's a really long list there. Baby Ganix has 1 product, which is one we sometimes use. Badger has 12 products. 2 are the clear zinc options. That's what I was talking about. They're not totally clear, but they're not going to be the really, really thick stuff like what Badger is known for. California Baby has 4. California Kids has 1. These are those are the ones I highlighted that are ones we have tried at home that we like. But like I said, there's it's 4 solid pages of names. So that gets you started in the right direction. And like I said, keeping the little sheet in your wallet will help you even further. So the overarching summary here in terms of ingredients, you want to avoid oxybenzone, all forms of vitamin A, retinol palmitate or retinol, and no added insect repellent. What you want to look for is zinc oxide, avobenzone, and Mexoral SX. In terms of products, you want to avoid sprays, powders, and SPFs above 50. What you want to look for in products is a cream, broad spectrum protection, water resistant, and an SPF to suit your needs somewhere between 15 and 50. So that is the long and the short of it today, folks. Sunscreen, it's getting sunny out. Yesterday, I think it was like over 90 degrees here. So make sure you're using all the right protection, making shade, going out the right time of the day, check your UV index, stay covered up, hat, sunglasses, and use a safe and appropriate sunscreen. So that's everything for today. I'm going to sign off before my phone dies because it just gave me the low battery warning. And I think next week I got my new Eco Parent magazine, and there's so many good articles in there. I'm so excited. I'm going to spend the rest of the afternoon reading that. And we'll see which ones come up to share for next week. So I think I'll leave it at that for today. And if you have any questions, let me know. But share this with your other mommy and daddy friends for their kids. Make sure everybody is using a really great, safe, and truly protective, not harmful sunscreen. Because kids are the most susceptible, especially the littlest ones. They are not making as much melanin in their skin to protect from the sun. So infants are the ones we want to keep covered up the most. So I will leave you with that today, and we'll see what next week brings, what goodies I can find in my Eco Parent magazine. And I hope you all have a great, safe week, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Thanks for joining me. Have a great afternoon.